Manu is the father of mankind, and therefore from Manu comes the word man, or in Sanskrit, Manushya. Those who are in a better position in the world, having sufficient wealth, should especially take lessons from Manu, who acknowledged his kingdom and opulence to be gifts from the personality of Godhead, and thus always engaged in devotional service. Similarly, the descendants of Manu or human beings, especially those who are situated in a well-to-do condition, must consider that whatever riches they have are gifts from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those riches should be utilized for the service of the Lord in sacrifices performed to please Him. That is a way of utilizing wealth and opulence. No one can achieve wealth, opulence, good birth, a beautiful body, or a nice education without the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, those who are in possession of such valuable facilities must acknowledge their gratefulness to the Lord by worshipping Him and offering Him what they have received from Him. When such acknowledgement is given, either by a family, nation, or society, their abode becomes almost like Vaikuntha, and it becomes free from the operation of the threefold miseries of material world. In the modern age, the mission of Krishna consciousness is for everyone to acknowledge the supremacy of Lord Krishna. Whatever one has in his possession must be considered a gift by the grace of the Lord. Everyone therefore should engage in devotional service through Krishna consciousness. If one wants to be happy and peaceful in his position, either as a householder or a citizen or a member of the human society, one must promote devotion service for the pleasure of the Lord. So, Swayambhuva Manu has returned to his capital, Barhismati, after having offered his daughter Devavati to Kapila Muni. And it is said here that he sat on the Kushas and Kashas grass, which yesterday we discussed. They were turned into blades of grass by the hair that fell from Lord Varaha, that is Kusha and Kasha grass. So Manu spread the seat of Kushas and Kashas and worshipped the Lord, the personality of Godhead, by whose grace he obtained the rule of the terrestrial globe. Prabhupada explains some fundamental principles which is very important for someone who is a devotee, as to how he should see things in this material world. One thing Prabhupada says here, no one can achieve wealth, opulence, good birth, or beautiful body, or nice education without the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So these things are usually there are two ways of seeing things in this material world, even for a spiritualist. There are two kinds of spiritualists are there. Two kinds of transcendentalists are there. Those who are impersonalists and those who are personalists. So these two transcendentalists see this world a little differently. The impersonalist way of seeing is that all these opulences and all the life opulences, good things in life, richness, beauty, education, intelligence, all these things they see this as an impersonal permutation combination that is acting on its own according to laws of nature. Now there is a very significant difference in which the Vaishnavas see this. The Vaishnavas, they understand, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna is Upadrashta and Anumanta. Without the personal sanction of the Lord, through his agency of Kala. Three gunas automatically cannot deliver anything to anybody. Therefore, one has to, in his perception of opulence, riches, power, beauty, knowledge, when he sees this in this material world, material knowledge, material beauty, material richness, material power, these are not to be seen as independent of the Lord. There is the involvement of the Lord, who is as Paramatma traveling along with the Jiva. And in his journey of independent enjoyment, the Paramatma is facilitating these things based on the pattern of his karma. But the pattern of his karma is a cause for details of what he gets. But what he gets is because of the sanction of the Lord, through his agency of Kala. Even for the karmis, everybody's. If you see somebody is a rich man, you should not disconnect it from God. He is in the domain of Maya. This man is in the domain of Maya. So the Lord has a scheme of things for facilitating people in Maya. Therefore, according to their desire guna, the Kala is directed to deliver the living entities with opulences, power, rich, etc. In other words, we understand, we don't see anybody's possessions, gross possession or subtle possessions, as simply automatically coming out of his good action and bad action. No. Whereas the impersonalists, they see it's just coming out of good action and bad action. But in the case of devotees, they see it is coming out of good action and bad action, no doubt. But that is a scheme of the Lord, and the Lord is actually having the final touch in delivering it to them through the Kala. That is the reason why he is Upadrishta and Anumanta. There is no need to say he is Anumanta if it was automatic. And he is seated in each living entity's heart, and then he is doing the sanction. So when Vaishnavas see anything, they see, okay, the Paramatma has given this person this richness, this opulence. Whether he misuses, does not misuse it is a different matter. That is his further action and reaction is creating. So this is one of the reasons why, this is one of the understanding or the knowledge by which you can remove envy from any situation. In other words, you come to understand that if I envy anybody, I am envying God. I am envying God's decision. So devotee does not envy any karmi also. Does not envy any devotee also. Because without the sanction of the Lord, this karmi or this devotee cannot have what he is having. The meaning of envy means something I don't have, he has got, so I want that. That is envy. So when the Lord's hand is seen in everything that is going on in this material world, everything going on means every sanction. Not every physical action, every sanction. Physical action is conducted by three modes of material nature. Kala, pushing. But Anumanta of the desires of the living entities. Moment you create a desire, then you have a whole sequence of actions which will fulfill that desires. That is all carried out by the three gunas. The sanction is given by the Lord at the starting point of the desires of the living entities. So when one sees that everything this man, whatever he has here, there is a reason. God has a reason why he has given him. God has a reason why he took away from somebody something else. Lord as Paramatma, he is a Param Ishvara in this material world. Paramatma's role in this material world, his rasa is Param Ishvara. So as Param Ishvara, he has sanctioned somebody, I should not be envious. Oh, he did not deserve that, he got it. You, in your eyes, he may not deserve that, he must have deserved in the previous life. So this perception is very useful. This perception of true knowledge of things as they are, as it is described here, will free oneself from envy. Because every feeling comes out of a perception. Out of ignorance come these kind of ignorant feelings. Out of ignorance come lust. Out of ignorance come envy. Out of ignorance. Ignorance is a perception. Lack of knowledge, lack of seeing things as they are. So when you see things as they are, as it is described here, why somebody is rich, why somebody is poor, why somebody is, it is all, there is a Lord's hand in it. So why should I judge anybody's, he deserves or not deserves? If I don't have something which somebody has got, it is because there is a reason behind it. The Lord has a reason behind it. Even in the case of the devotee also thinks there is a reason for the Lord. In the devotee's case, he is the Upadrishta, Hanumanta, and he is also a guide. He is a Chaitya Guru, Paramatma. So Paramatma is actively playing a role in the life of a devotee. In consonance with the external spiritual master. If you follow all the instructions given by the external spiritual master, then online instruction the Supreme Lord will give, direction. If you don't even follow the instruction given by the spiritual master, then why online should be given? Do that first. Then I'll give you the next. Or I'll give you direction to help you to do first things first. Surrender to the instructions of the external spiritual master, and from there I will take you to the next level. So it is a very systematic, very, very clear science of how one makes connections with different mercy of the Lord, right, starting from material wealth, material opulence, to spiritual gifts of detachment and attachment to Krishna. Now, another important thing that Prabhupada is saying here, this is also very significant. Even though this material world is dukkalayam ashashvatam, one should not think, with several places Prabhupada has told, like, if the Lord is involved even in the material world, this temporary nature of the material world will not be felt. Will not be felt. That is a little shocking. You just see here. When such acknowledgement is given, either by family, nation, society, their abode becomes almost like Vaikuntha. And it becomes free from the operation of the threefold miseries of the material world. And the right example is a temple where deities are worshipped, where Sankirtana is done. Everybody is performing yajna. In these places, opulence will never come down, because these are opulences granted personally by the Lord. Each living entity is dependent upon the Lord. He is never independent. He is dependent on food, he is dependent for air, he is dependent for health, he is dependent on everything, he is dependent on the Lord. Absolutely, the living entity's constitutional position is dependence. So one may think, so do I have any stability at all? So constitutionally, am I unstable? Constitutionally, am I insecure always? No. Constitutionally, if you stand alone, you are insecure. Constitutionally, if you are linked up with Krishna, then everything is complete. You are secure, you are complete in your intelligence, you are complete in your possessions, you are complete in your actions. So the living entity is constitutionally, if you see, it is dependent. The moment it's independent, it is an unconstitutional position. Once independent, then according to law of karma, things will come and go. Opulence will come and go. Basic requirements of life will come and go according to law of karma. Food, clothing, shelter, society, power, friendship, all these things will just interplay of three modes of material according to your karma. A Vaishnava who is always understanding and dependent upon Krishna, and I live for Krishna, I exist for Krishna, then even in this material world, such a devotee is surrounded by, such a devotee becomes free from the operation of the threefold miseries of the material world. That means he will not be shortage of anything. That's Krishna also says, Yoga Kshemam Ahamyam. So Krishna is an active operating principle in the devotee's life in this material world, through which he is always feeling a sense of completeness. Even though the threat is there for every other person. Out of ignorance, a person in the material world is feeling peace, if at all, for some time. Feeling satisfaction. It is an illusory satisfaction, illusory peace. If one gets real knowledge, he will not have peace at all. How unstable the kala is, how unstable the material world is. What will happen next moment, you do not know. There is no stability, there is no protection, nothing. Even this own body, we do not know when it will stop functioning. So out of illusion in the material world, that also Krishna's, because if you are continuously disturbed, then you cannot enjoy, no? That is why Krishna, Mata Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. He gives that ignorance, and the material Maya is giving rasa to living entities. Maya rasa. Maya rasa is a perverted reflection of the spiritual rasa. So Lord is facilitating this Maya rasa through ignorance. Otherwise, in this material world, one cannot get peace, satisfaction, or happiness. One cannot get at all. And in this very same material world, the devotees can get peace, can get satisfaction, and get happiness. Surrounded by material energy. Because, as it is mentioned here, it is a gift of the Lord. Everything is recognized that it is by the grace of the Lord. Whatever one has in possession must be considered as a gift by the grace of the Lord. In other words, you may have so many possessions, but you won't be attached to it because those possessions are gift of the Lord. You know who is the owner of those gifts, and it is engaged in Krishna's service. Everyone, therefore, should engage in devotion service through Krishna consciousness. In other words, the only purpose of all possession is to engage in devotion service of the Lord, to use that in service of the Lord. That is the purpose of the body, that is the purpose of every possession, bodily possession. If one wants to be happy and peaceful in his position, either as a householder or citizen or member of human society, one must promote devotion service, the pleasure of the Lord. So, even though we say Dukkalayam Ashashvatam, no doubt, Prabhupada here also says, their abode becomes almost like Vaikuntha. It doesn't say it becomes Vaikuntha, almost like Vaikuntha. So similarly, you can have a life almost like Vaikuntha in this material, in a temple, you can have. You can have in a kingdom where there is only yajna performed for the Lord. As we discussed yesterday, it's a unique kind of a thing. What is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, that Prabhupada has created pockets of that kingdom in this material world. Prabhupada's temples are that. Provided we follow the principles given by Srila Prabhupada and serve the Lord. Provided we live in the temple with the thoughts that are befitting to be living in the temple, befitting a resident of the temple, resident of a Vaikunthavasi, the thoughts and the behavior, vichar and achar. If these things are taken care, then one can experience what Prabhupada is saying here. In the very same place, one devotee will experience it's almost Vaikuntha. Another devotee will start feeling all kinds of insecurity that the karmi feels inside the temple. I am not safe, I am not taken care, there is no love, there is no affection, there is nobody, this thing. All full of what is not there, not there, not there, not there, all those things he will see. Because he is expecting some things. The mistake he does is that he thinks by jumping from the outside world, after reading Krishna conscious philosophy, he jumps into the temple. He thinks temple is 100% Vaikuntha. He says almost Vaikuntha. There's a difference between almost Vaikuntha and 100% Vaikuntha. So little adjustments you have to do. Because just for you, Krishna is not going to change it to 100% Vaikuntha. And if you want 100% Vaikuntha, Krishna says 100% Vaikuntha you can get provided you go above the bodily concept. You understand, I am the servant of Krishna, I am eternal servant of Krishna, I am not this body. Because all the problems are coming from this body. All the depression, all the negativeness that are for the living entity in the material world is coming by identification with this material body, because the material body is imperfect, is an embarrassing situation for the soul, Prabhupada says. This is not his body. This material body is an embarrassment for the soul who is residing in this body. And when devotee looks at it like that, whatever opulence, whatever money, whatever richness, whatever greatness, whatever personal memory power or speaking power or understanding power, intelligence, spiritual intelligence, all this, the devotee is never proud of these things because he sees these are all spiritual, gift by the Lord, given by the Lord. I should not turn it into material. After the Lord gives it, I should not turn it into material. Then three modes will act. Krishna gives money. That money, moment you don't use it for Krishna's pleasure, then it becomes material, it becomes Maya, and that will pull you down, that will give you reaction. Like anybody else, it will give reaction. On the other hand, if the Lord is very satisfied that this devotee has a right attitude towards all possessions, this devotee has a right attitude towards all the internal opulences that are given to him, like knowledge, detachment, and all those things, he recognizes that it is given by me. He feels more and more confident to give more and more to that devotee to engage in spreading Krishna consciousness. Our Krishna consciousness movement is not a movement of vairagya for the institution. It is a movement of vairagya for the individual. You have to reconcile this. As an institution, as a movement to spread Krishna consciousness movement. If the movement becomes more wealthy, Prabhupada will be only happy. Why? Because then all the wealth, with that wealth those riches should be utilized for the service of the Lord in sacrifices performed to please Him. So more wealth means more sacrifice. In the material world now, if we can do sacrifices ourselves, doing japa and satisfy the Lord, that the yajna we are doing, we can do early morning. But after we finish our japa, the whole day we are doing yajna. That yajna requires money. That yajna requires influence. That yajna requires all kinds of material things that every other karmi is required to make it big in this material world. We also need that. We don't need it personally, but we as an institution, we need it. So to preach Krishna consciousness, to spread the message of the Lord, and be Krishna conscious is a greater challenge than simply sitting behind and chanting slokas and, being Krishna conscious. That is one level of Krishna consciousness. Now, there are two terms used, Bhajananandi and Ghoshyanandi. One is simply interested in his bhajan. He thinks he has come to ISKCON for his bhajan. No problem. He can start like that. He can begin his spiritual life like that. But to understand the spirit of Prabhupada, otherwise, why Srila Prabhupada, who was doing such wonderful bhajan in Vrindavan, why he has to go to America? Why has to go to the most degraded place in America? Why? Because it is a higher service to the Lord. And this is a mood of Srila Prabhupada. Devotee should never get into the mood that, initially as a starting point, yes, nice, no problem, concentrate on your bhajan. But even when you're concentrating on your bhajan, you should understand by my good sadhana, by good bhajan, one day I should be able to free myself to see everything spiritually and engage everything in Krishna's service. I can't be a neophyte forever like this. In fact, it is more empowering. Sadhana becomes easy, chanting becomes blissful, etc. When one does preaching Krishna consciousness, expanding the mission of Srila Prabhupada. It is not mission. Prabhupada's mission is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission means Krishna's mission. So devotee has to develop great respect for working hard in the institution. Not that I do minimum work. Work is a necessary evil. भंजन करने का है, लेकिन तो कुछ करना है खाने के लिए, तो करेंगे. Certain mutts, this is a mutt feeling. Mutt feeling is like that. भजन के लिए इधर है, वो कुछ something morning, evening, थोड़ा करना है. This is not the spirit of Prabhupada's, a member of Prabhupada's movement. This is not the spirit. He does not, preaching is equal to sadhana in the eyes of the Lord. But in the eyes of the Lord, you have to, because we are in bodily concept of life, because we are not enlightened, therefore sadhana is primary now, and preaching is fed by the sadhana, but preaching is extremely important. By preaching, you are doing Mahat Seva. Seva for a pure devotee of the Lord. And this Bhagavatam reveals that the secret of spiritual advancement is Mahat Seva. If you don't do Seva to a Mahatma, if you don't do Seva to a pure devotee, it is not possible to get spiritual realization. You can go on doing sadhana. Your sadhana should lead to this understanding to serve a pure devotee. I, Krishna, bhajan. I, myself and Krishna, bhajan. No, will not work. There's somebody in between. Pariprashnayana sevaya. You have to do seva for him. You have to do seva Srila Prabhupada. You have to do seva Srila Prabhupada's mission. If you don't get this vibration, this is exactly what Prabhupada told. At many places he said, the spirit, this is a preaching spirit. Otherwise, eating, sleeping, it's a mess. Temples are simply like a mess. Mess in the sense, eating, sleeping. It should not become like that. If the preaching spirit is lost, everybody is taking care of their sadhana, then that's not the preaching movement that is envisaged by Prabhupada. That's not what he set up, Srila Prabhupada, what he set up. That is not the spirit of his entire, what he is expecting from a disciple. And it's not that you can go on with your bhajan like that. You will stagnate. You'll stagnate. Spiritual life, nava rasa. It has to give us new rasa. And there is more opportunity for new rasa in seva than in devotion service of preaching. For a neophyte needs that. We need that. Just like devotees see reciprocation of Krishna, it fires him more. He feels connected to Krishna more. If he doesn't take up any challenges to preach Krishna consciousness, he will not feel that kind of reciprocation. He takes up challenges, he sees Krishna is with him. If he doesn't take challenges, he is losing opportunity to see Krishna face to face. So taking challenges to preaching Krishna consciousness is an opportunity to see Krishna face to face. And today we are so fortunate. Krishna is there as a holy name. Kalikale Krishna Nama Rupa Avatara. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, wherever you chant Hare Krishna, I am there. I'll come there. So by participating, it's a great opportunity for all of us to participate in this Avatara's Leela, Nama Avatara. Every other Avatara, Lord comes and He gives association to deserving candidates. Only they can go near the Lord, whether it's Lord Chaitanya or whether it is Krishna. Chaitanya a little more merciful. But then, you see the Nama Avatara, no qualification. Very, very merciful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is distributed this opportunity for us to, even though we are imperfect, we can keep the Lord with us. The Lord's first Leela is to liberate us. The Nama Lord's first Leela is to free us from this material world. To give us service. Just like Prabhupada says, please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. That's the meaning of chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any questions?
Prabhu, can a devotee accept minimum comforts if it is favorable for preaching as well as for individual practicing Krishna consciousness?
A devotee
can accept the minimum comforts in the organization if it is favorable for preaching and for practicing Krishna consciousness?
Yes. What's the question?
Comforts can we accept? A devotee can we accept comforts?
Can accept, whether he can accept.
Comforts.
Of course, it's not that he is accepting for himself. Suppose let us say, you have to serve the Lord, you have to go from here to Rajajinagar. You have to have a chapel. You can say, I don't want this chapel. Then you will disturb your service or not. Is it not? The road will be very hot, or dirt may. So like that, there are so many things. So you accept chapel. So you accept things which helps in devotion service. Not only helps, it helps in doing more production, more productivity. Time is very fast. Means the times are moving very fast. We also have to move with those times. We cannot be in another yuga. If mobiles are there, we have to procure mobiles. Tomorrow is something more gadget than mobile is coming, we have to immediately procure it. We have to run faster. While doing that, we have to be very careful about, as I said, individual is one thing, institution is another thing. When you are using a mobile, you should not think it is for my pleasure, but I will use it fully for Krishna's work. So that attitude is very much required, because he should not get wet. He goes in a car, he should not get wet. Means you catch a fish, but you should not get wet, Prabhupada says. So you need to catch a fish for Krishna, but don't get wet. So to catch a fish, you should not fall into the water. So you have a vehicle, you have this, you have that, you travel by car, you travel by plane, or you may have to wear very good dress when you're going to this, to see the dignitaries, nice, well dressed it should be. Not that we need all those things. We don't need, but we cannot reject those things. We have to be on the lookout to accept things favorable for the devotional service. Whatever is favorable, let me take it. Yes, not just that kind of do's and don'ts are not there for the devotee, as far as his comforts are concerned. What is required, he will do, and he is always careful that it does not affect him. And that will not affect also if one is chanting every day morning 16 rounds, all these small things, whether I am affected by my dress or not. You don't have to think, I am traveling by car, I should check whether I am really getting attached or not. All this you don't have to do at all. You just have to chant nicely Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and just use everything, nothing will touch us. We will not get wet. We will not get wet. You don't have to take separate interest to get wet. Not to get wet. जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.